How's it going, everyone? This is Yxlarb, and welcome back to my Sonic Adventure 2 HD series. In the last episode, we accessed the Chao world for the first time, got into the Chao Garden, hatched a couple of Chao, one for myself and one for Bosniancheese, for a future one-on-one competition between the two of us. And in this episode, we're going to dive into the Chao feature a whole lot more. Oh man, I'm so excited about this. It's so surreal. Oh wow. Just to check in on everyone, here's Bosniancheese's Chao, and here's my Chao. Now, of course, we're going to give them names. We're not just going to be referring to them as my Chao, Bosniancheese's Chao, Yxlarb's Chao, whatever. And that's actually going to be one of the first things we deal with in this episode. We're going to go ahead and exit the Chao Garden. Yes, and now that we've accessed the Chao Garden, we've hatched our Chao or whatever, we can access the Chao Kindergarten, which, by its name, it's kind of funny because it's another garden, you know, the kindergarten versus the Chao Garden. By its name, you'd assume it's a school, and you're halfway right by assuming that. It's actually a few different things. As you can see, we have a fortune teller, we have the health center, we have the principal's office, and we have a classroom, among other things. So why don't we go ahead and access them from right to left. So the fortune telling house. First place you go, this lady, presumably lady, again, they're genderless, but sometimes they convey them as a certain gender, so we're just going to go off of the identities that they seem to portray to us, at least based on stereotypes, which is really the only way we can go. I mean, she just seems like a woman, so I'm going to call her a woman. Anyway, the fortune teller doesn't actually tell you your fortune. All she does is give your Chao a lucky name. It's basically your naming mechanic. So let's see what she has to say. Oh, your Chao's a newborn. I will give your Chao a good name. This Chao's lucky name is summoning the powers to be Presto. How about the name Dingy? How about no? You can, of course, reject the name. You're not stuck with it or anything like that. Definitely not. If you don't like the name, she can give you another name. I want to pick my own name, so I'm going to say no again. Then she gives you the option to name your Chao on your own, which, of course, I'm going to take full advantage of. And you actually get a lot of characters to name your Chao with. I am going to name my Chao Soluna, since I've decided that she's a girl. I came up with this name by combining my two female cats' names. They're sisters, Solara and Luna. So Luna. I think it's a really cool sounding name. It's obviously very unique. And actually, I have an even more complicated name that I give them in real life when I refer to them together, and that's Solunara. So pretty much we're missing the R and the A at the end. But of course, we only have 7 characters, so 7 characters max. So I'm working with what I've got here, and Soluna sounds almost as good, pretty much. But there we go. Name my Chao Soluna. It's a good name. I wish her a happy life. See you again. So there we go. You're named. How awesome is that? Now, to the health center. This is a pretty important office. Here we have a Dr. Chao that will examine our Chao. How are you feeling? So you have two things you can do. You can either just see the doctor, which we're going to do, and we'll get an exam going. What's this? Your Chao is very healthy. Please take good care of your Chao. Now, apparently, Chao can get sick. They can get a cough or get dizzy or whatever they get, and then you can come and see the doctor, and the doctor will inform you that your Chao is sick and then give it a pill to resolve its illness. Now, I don't know if a Chao can die from its illness, if it's neglected when it's ill. I don't know if it just affects its happiness and nothing else. I really don't know, but honestly, out of the hundreds of hours I've played this game, I have never once seen a Chao get sick. Not once. So I know it can happen, but I didn't even know about it really until very recently. It's a new thing for me. The bulk of the reasons you come here is to look at your Chao's medical chart. So now this shows you, of course, a lot of important things. Shows you your Chao's name, its attribute, which is neutral, and its ability type, which is child. Now that might sound kind of confusing. That's because those things don't really mean anything yet. This is pretty much just telling us our Chao is still a baby. But as we can see here, we've got grades. So we can see our stats like from before, and we can see our skill level, aka our actual stat number, the number that depicts the strength of our stat. But now we can see our ability grade. You're assigned a grade from E to S. It goes from lowest to highest. E-D-C-B-A-S, with S being the best, of course. Honestly, my Chao's not that bad. I mean, we got a couple of C's, but we've got 3 B's. I mean, this is a pretty decent report card for being, you know, just a less than an hour old little guy. Now, the grades can get a little complicated in themselves. Like I said, there's a lot more depth to the Chao feature than you'd initially think or believe. Now, when your Chao is born, it's assigned random grades. I don't know if they have to have, you know, like, I don't know if you can get one with all E's, for example. I don't know exactly how to explain what I'm trying to think of, but I don't know if you can get all E's. I'm sure you couldn't get all A's or S's, but honestly, I don't know. But pretty much here, we just have a random assortment of grades. When you breed 2 Chao, its offspring will randomly select from its parents' grades. So let's say Bosniancheese Chao and Soluna had a child. We don't know what his swim stat is, but let's assume it's a B. That Chao, or the offspring, will either have a B or a C grade in swimming. That's how it's going to work. Now, you're probably thinking that increasing your skill level, increasing your level, will actually change your grade. That is not true. There's only one way to change your grade, and that's through evolution. Now, Chao go through 2 evolutions, which we'll discuss way more in depth later on, believe me. Only the first evolution is a true evolution. That is where they go into a cocoon and as a child and emerge an adult. When they do that, one of their grades will be increased by 1 point. So for example, this isn't a spoiler. I was going to explain it to you guys sooner rather than later. I'm going to turn my Chao into what's called a run Chao, a run type Chao. That's when its ability type will be running. When I do that, when it evolves into a run type, its running grade will go from B to A, right? And that's it. You can't change your grade again until your Chao reincarnates, becomes a child again, and then goes through that first evolution a second time, right? So yeah, it can get kind of complicated, but it is possible to fully max out your Chao. Now, you might have been able to put this together, but your grade determines how high your skill level can be. So when you have an S rank, that's when you can actually max out your skill to 4,000 or whatever, right? But at a C, I'm going to be limited to lower than that. I won't be able to have the highest possible swim level. And of course, you know, as we've explained, 1 time per life, we can get this Chao maxed out. But how many times will we have to do that? Let's see. So I just did the math. My Chao would have to go through 12 evolutions. 12 evolutions. So it would have to be pretty much on its 12th life cycle in order to be maxed out, and that can be very time consuming. There's conflicting information out there about how long it actually takes for a Chao to age. Plus, it's determined by a few things, including, you know, how often it's fed, you know, how many bites it's taken, other things. So I don't know exactly, but I'm pretty sure that each year of a Chao's life lasts about 3.5 to 4.5 or maybe even 5 hours of real life time. And each Chao, when it's a full adult, it'll usually be, I think, 5 or 6. I don't know if I've seen one that actually reaches 6, but I've seen plenty that reach 5 years old. So what is that? That's like, let's see, no more than about 30 hours. So it's going to be in like the kind of 25 to 30 hours of real life time to get your Chao to reincarnate, and that's just the first time. So you'd have to do that 12 times to even consider maxing this Chao out. So yeah, you might want to take it easy. But I guess I'll give you one more piece of advice before we move on from the grades. As I mentioned before, I'm going to turn my Chao into a running Chao, but you obviously don't have to go down that route. I was planning on becoming a running Chao no matter what, but I'm really happy that my stat grade is a B, because that means when I evolve into a running Chao, I'll have an A, and that means I'll be very proficient at running, which is the thing I want to excel at. It wouldn't make very much sense for me to become a swimming or power Chao because I'm average at those things. Imagine if I had an E in something. If I had an E in swimming, becoming a swimming Chao would be just almost nonsensical. So kind of, you know, keep that in mind. If you don't have a preference for what you're going for, then just, you know, go for the thing you're strongest in already. If you do have a preference, maybe try to upgrade a different Chao, honestly. Now, there is more to discuss. This is just the blue page of our medical chart. Oh, RT. Here's the yellow page. This kind of has just some general information. So personality is carefree. Honestly, this sounds more like Bosniancheese. Are we sure this is even my Chao? I'm kidding. Your Chao doesn't have to replicate your personality, right? I mean, it's just a pet. But then it gives you your Chao's favorite fruit. In this case, the Chao likes, so Luna likes square fruit. And we'll discuss that more later on. I'm pretty sure by giving it square fruit, you just increase its happiness. It's that simple. Then we have its age, which is 0. It was just born. And the times it's transformed is 0. Now, that number pretty much refers to... I'm pretty sure that number refers to the times it's reincarnated. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Yes, I just confirmed it just to make sure because I didn't want to be wrong. I thought I knew, but I wanted to check. It's the number of times your Chao has reincarnated. So that's how you can tell what life cycle it's on. And then you have the condition, of course, which is what we just saw by seeing the doctor. So Luna's healthy. There's no problem. Then finally, you have the pink record sheet, which shows you Chao race and Chao karate. Now, under Chao race, what will happen is you'll get a series of medals. When you complete certain competitions, you'll gain medals for your Chao, and this is where they will be displayed. Then for Chao karate, of course, you have your win-loss record, and then you have your rank in Chao karate. And that's something we'll discuss more so later on. As you can see, God, does it ever get in depth, dude? Wow, it's really something. Then we have the principal's office here. We see the principal. Welcome to the kindergarten. I'm the kindergarten principal. Learn tips to raise your Chao from Professor Chao. Hey! Oh, there it is. Chao Doctor will give you tips. Ahaha. I can't remember, but I remember growing up and him saying, oh, actually, I'm the doctor. Now, that, as far as I'm aware, was just a translation issue. They meant to use the word professor, but they said doctor, aka, someone who has a doctorate degree in teaching, in education, right? That's what they meant for it to say, but instead it just came out as like, oh no, I'm doctor. I mean, clearly this is not the Chao doctor. The Chao doctor we saw had, gray hair and a clearly different smile, didn't have that facial hair. So yeah, I mean, that's just kind of interesting. But anyway, he's here to give you tips. As you can see, there it is. Actually, I'm the Chao doctor. What would you like to do? So see, he's not saying I'm the doctor. He's saying I have a doctorate degree. That's just funny. But you can see raising Chao, food, tree fruits, mating is up in here, trees and seeds. Like, it's just crazy. It's absolutely just nuts. He tells you about the stuff in the Chao Kindergarten. Of course, at the end of the day, what he gives you here is pretty much the most basic of the basic advice. You don't need that because I'm giving you advice. Finally, we have the classroom here. Aha, today's lesson is maracas. Now your Chao can learn a number of things. Often it's music. There's a lot of instruments they can learn. It's musically related. They can learn to sing, learn multiple types of dancing, drawing, whatever it may be. And it's really cool. You leave your Chao in here. It'll take however long it takes. I think it's half an hour or something like that. But pretty much bottom line, each lesson is available for 1 hour. So we can see maracas is available right now for no more than an hour of real life time, real world time. Maracas will be available. Of course, it'll cycle back around. There's a number of lessons that they can learn. We're not going to list them all. We're not even going to teach our Chao all of them. But you can leave a Chao here. Once you leave them, you can't pick them up again until they're done with the lesson. It takes 30 minutes to complete a lesson, and you can have 4 Chao in the classroom learning a lesson at one time. Now, you're probably thinking, what does this do? Well, actually, if I were to leave Luna in here right now, and she were to learn the maracas, later on in the Chao Garden, I might be able to see her actually playing with maracas. It's really cool. And what's even cooler, and this is something I only learned somewhat recently, is that you can have a Chao learn the same lesson multiple times. And eventually they'll perfect the lesson. So for example, with singing, if the 5th time you leave your Chao to take the singing lesson, they will master it. And all the way throughout, after the 2nd time they learn it, the song they sing will become more complex. And by the 5th time, they will be singing the most complicated version of that song. And it's just really cool. Like I said, I didn't know that until, you know, fairly recently. So I'm glad I learned that. I'm glad I can share it with you guys today. But yeah, just keep that in mind. There's all sorts of cool things you can do here. Now here, we're playing the HD version. So this is different on each version this is a little different. We got the bulletin board. This is the Chao Kindergarten. You can ask for detailed tips from the kindergarten principal. You can talk to various Chao experts as well. On the Sonic Adventure 2 Battle version, it gave you a link to a Chao resource, which of course isn't as good as Chao Island, but that's what it gave you. I can't remember exactly what the link was, but yeah, you know, whatever version you're playing, just take a read and see what they've got to tell you. Finally, we've got the black market, and this is probably where you'll be spending a lot of your time. Between the health center and the black market, the kindergarten is crucial, and of course the classroom as well. If you're very concerned, or you know, very motivated, I should say, you know, make it a more positive sentence. If you're very motivated to have your Chao learn all the lessons and master them and everything, here you can buy all sorts of things with your rings. I mentioned this, I think, way back in the first episode of the series. Your rings get used here. That's why you have basically a ring bank, you know, and it shows you your ring total at the end of each stage. So as you can see, we have a number of things we can buy. You can scroll through here. There's a lot of things in here, but this isn't everything. The more emblems you collect, right now we have 34 emblems. The more emblems you collect, the more items will be revealed to you. The other thing is that the items will cycle out sometimes. So right here, you can see we have the Chao fruit. This is one of my favorite items in the game. It's just amazing, and pretty much what it does is it increases all of your Chao stats, all 5 of them, by 4 experience. I mean 4 to 8 experience, I should say, because each bite has the chance of giving you 1 to 2 experience. So it's like, wow, that's amazing. You don't have to collect animals or chaos drives. You can just feed your Chao, assuming you have the ring count to do it. This will not always be here. It'll cycle through, and it's all time-based. And we're not going to go through everything here, but as you can see, you can buy Chao eggs. This is how you can increase the number of Chao you have, aside from breeding. You have fruit. Square fruit, of course, is Soluna's favorite fruit. That's something to consider. We have seeds here. These seeds can grow into trees. Of course, we don't have a way to actually do that yet, but they'll grow various types of fruit. For example, we can get the square seed to grow square fruit. Now this makes fiscal sense because it only costs 300 for the seed versus 80 for the fruit. So I mean, as long as you get at least, you know, 4 fruit out of it, it's going to be worth your money, and you're actually going to be saving money. The apple, as you can see here, you're like 2,000 for an apple? Like what? That is such a ripoff. It better do something amazing. Well, actually, it's not edible. It is a hat. It's a hat a Chao can place over its head. Same thing with the cardboard box. The hats are typically the most expensive item in here, minus one thing, which we'll discuss later. But yeah, in fact, actually, I'm gonna bring it up now. So I mentioned themes before. You can change your menu theme to be, you know, Sonic, so that when you click on certain things, it'll be Sonic speaking, or you can change it to Knuckles, and it'll be Knuckles speaking. He'll be like, oh, main menu, and he'll be like, oh, stage select, instead of just the generic female robot voice that exists by default. But those are very expensive. I'm pretty sure you can buy an Amy theme, an Omo Chao theme, and a Maria theme, and those get into the tens of thousands of rings. And yeah, wow. And as you can see, if you want all these hats, 2,000, 2,000, 2,000 for the pan, it's like, oh, like what are we gonna do? Oh, by the way, the mushroom here, this is not a hat, even though it's kind of sitting here with them all. Honestly, I don't know what the mushroom does. There's so many conflicting, you know, stories about what it does or what it's capable of or how it helps. I just kind of ignore it. I mean, I really don't need it for any purpose. And I mean, it's somewhat expensive. I'd rather, you know, it's 300. I'd rather spend 200 for Chao fruit constantly. You can carry a max of, I believe, 5 things. So you can't buy more than 5 items at a time, then you gotta leave. You can also sell items. Now, I don't have anything to sell on me, but you might remember that we had, you know, 2 Chao egg, you know, the top half of the eggs. What am I trying to say? Eggshells. Okay, we have 2 eggshells, and we can actually sell those. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and do that because I just don't really have a need for them. So let's go ahead and do that. So here we go to the black market with our egg. and then we can go ahead and sell it for 50. Nice. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're selling items, I'm pretty sure you always get around... Oh, look, things have already changed, even though I was only gone for a little bit. We got a white egg in here now, blue egg, heart fruit, which actually can allow the Chao to enter its mating season sooner, or pretty much outside of its natural mating season. Round fruit, anything else new in here? No, but the mushroom is gone now. See, it's just going to constantly cycle. But the thing I wanted to say, the thing to keep in mind is that whatever you buy, you can sell it back to the black market, but only at like a 25% return. So if you bought that white egg, for example, you try to sell the eggshell back, you're only going to get 100. Now, of course, that makes sense in the case of eggs because he just sold us an entire creature and a full egg shell. Now we're selling him back half an eggshell. We're lucky to be getting 25%, right? Right? I mean, that makes sense. But that's true for anything. If you go ahead, if you purchase the cardboard box right now for 2,000, you can only sell it back for 500. That's no joke. So, pretty much what I'm saying is, if you're gonna want to buy those just to experiment with it, thinking you can just sell it back and get back your money or most of it, you won't. You will not. Alright guys, well I figure we're gonna go ahead and name Bosniancheese's Chao as well. I mean, it's not fair that only Soluna gets a name. And it's gonna be a name that kind of carries on with a theme we've already established with Soluna. Cody, wow, that's an actual nice name. I'm not gonna name Bosniancheese's Chao Cody. No. How do I name your Chao yourself? Yes, perfect. We're actually going to name it Telfi, which, similarly to Soluna's name, is a combination of Bosniancheese's two pets' names. They're both male dogs, both tiny male dogs, Titan and Elfie. Telfi, there you go. Yeah, so, yeah, I remember when he gave me the name, he's like, yeah, it doesn't sound like an actual name like Soluna does, but it's still a good name. See, even the fortune teller says it's a good name. Come on. Well, guys, this has been a productive episode. We went through the entirety of the Chao Kindergarten, really showed off a lot of stuff, some of it needlessly complicated, some of it probably more in-depth than a lot of you care about, but I want to be thorough. I want to be, thorough enough that you all understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and I feel like it's important to lay down the groundwork in the beginning and, give you a general overview of how things work, the general concepts regarding the grades and the stats and the black market and everything else. That way, later on when we're trying to focus on specific things, we don't have to explain every little concept kind of, at random. It's like, hey, we're doing this thing, and it's like, oh, let me take a 30-second break to discuss this concept I haven't explained yet. I just feel like it's a good future investment. So just keep that in mind. If you don't prefer that style, I'm sorry. It's just the way my brain works, and it's what I do. But anyway, I like to bounce in the Chao Garden, but just try not to. You're just going to hurt your Chao, and you're not going to be happy with yourself, unless you're a masochist. In which case, I mean, I'm not going to say go for it, because I just don't approve. But what are you going to do? Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I can't wait to see you guys in the next episode.